Welcome and hello from Alex, with a story from r/PettyRevenge, where a grocery store encounter leads to a clever cart-locking retaliation. Coming up next is a story from bouncypinata. I locked my Aldi cart to another person's cart inside the store. I was at Aldi and there was a woman shopping by herself with a rather full cart. My first encounter, she had her cart sideways blocking most of the aisle, standing against one side and looking at food on the other side. I make my way past her and of course as soon as I am close, she steps forward to get the food she was looking at. I politely do the oops excuse me and wait to pass, not even bothered yet, whatever, it happens all the time. Second time, I am pushing my cart along the outside and she's about to pull in front of me. I can see it. She half goes without looking, but hesitates, and I stop because I think she's about to, but then she doesn't, so I start to go, and then she hesitates again and pushes right in front of me. I roll my eyes. The third time I see her, she parks it totally sideways and blocking the whole aisle between those island freezers and the wall. She leaves it unattended and goes to get something else. So in the middle of grumbling and reaching to move it, I instead put her latch into my cart, leave my 3-4 items, take my quarter back, and scurry off to get a new cart. I don't think she had another quarter, as I saw her trying to push both awkwardly at the same time in different directions to the checkout. That oblivious shopper sounds like a real pain in the neck, blocking aisles, hesitating in front of you, inconsiderate at best, 3 times in one shopping trip. Ugh. I gotta say, Opie, that cart latching move was pretty darn creative, like a petty genius. A little risky if she had a quarter on her, but sometimes you gotta take a stand, especially against inconsiderate grocery shoppers. Hopefully, it taught her a lesson about aisle awareness. The best part, taking your quarter back and leaving her stuck. Pure satisfaction right there. I wouldn't recommend doing this all the time, but for someone like that, it sounds like it was justified. Coming up next is a story from ZZZ-Top. Idiot tries to follow me home because I wouldn't fix his truck for practically free, so I took the scenic route. Don't worry, I called a rescue. He's a very entitled veteran and supposedly a Purple Heart one. He's also a very racist MAGA-type dumbass. One of the reasons my boss will not absolutely have him as a customer during business hours, but will work on his truck after hours with no one else around. The usual mo is he tries to fix something on his truck and fucks it up, then expects everyone else to fix it for really cheap using his veteran status as a guilt trip because he already had done half the work himself. This time he fixed his brakes and somehow no longer had rear brakes. His truck is 2 bolt failures away from a junkyard. My boss is out of town, so I was in charge for the week with strict instructions to not help him while he's out. He showed up at the shop today demanding I fix his truck. I had already closed the building up and was ready to leave. I told him when G gets back he'll fix your truck. He didn't like that answer. That said something I picked up on to be racist remark and told him to fuck off till G gets back. He gets pissed and grabs a piece of wood and throws it into the desert. I start my drive home and a second or two later I notice his truck behind me and matching my lane changes. I live 40 miles away, so I knew he wouldn't keep up with me in the hills and I didn't want to kill him by outpacing him, so I call my friend who's only about 9-10 miles in the middle of the desert and told him I was gonna swing by because I think I am being followed and I was gonna take the scenic route. He told me he was gonna meet me at the halfway and if he had to he would scare him off. The scenic route is 7 miles of rough desert road that will destroy any truck without long travel suspension. A lot of locals use it to test and tune their desert off-roaders. I get to the turnoff into the trail and I see his headlights turn in behind me. At that point I shut my lights off and turn on my desert headlights and floor it. I made sure to lure him into the first set of jumps. Right before the jumps I kicked up a bunch of dust and turned off all the lights and waited at the other end. I see his headlights again and I could tell he cleared the first jump, but I could see his headlights shake going down, which is a sign of suspension failure from hitting the ground hard. I turned on all my lights so he could see where I was as I left and proceeded to my friend's location. He was waiting for me with his brother and a big shit-eating grin. He told me he saw me about a mile away because of the lights but couldn't see the other truck behind, and he just said, "Looks like he must have missed the first jump. I'm gonna call rescue." We hung out another few minutes and took a different trail that led me to the highway home. Later in the evening I get a call that he was fine but his truck was literally bent at the cab and bed from the 5 feet drop he experienced. He said he got lost going home. I plan on calling G in the morning and letting him know I am having that dumbass trespass from the shop for that stunt. Later Opie actually posted an update on the story. Update: G has been contacted. He's taking my side on this and he's no longer welcomed at the shop. He's been formally trespassed by the sheriffs. I also saw the truck, it's literally bent with the bed and the cab pressed into each other at another shop. Opie, that sounds like a wild ride. This entitled customer following you home is creepy and dangerous. Good thinking calling your friend for help, safety first. The scenic route was pure genius. Using your local knowledge to lure that jerk into a situation his truck couldn't handle, fantastic. And sounds like your friend enjoyed the show too. Big shit-eating grin says it all. Maybe a bit risky turning off your lights completely. But hey, sometimes you gotta take a chance, right? Especially to ditch a stalker. Good on you for getting him trespassed. No shop needs a customer like that. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes, as they say. He definitely got what he deserved. Coming up next is a story from Little Redbird 1991, and if you like the video so far, don't forget to like the video. It only takes a second and helps me out a lot. Think I don't speak English? Okay, I don't. Technically belongs to my husband, but I was there to witness the fun. Backstory. My husband, 36 male, is of Chinese descent but was born in America. He speaks perfect English without an accent, okay, an American accent, and is basically just a regular guy but does deal with his fair share of racism, both small and large, but he deals with it with grace. Last weekend we were at a new restaurant that had opened up, and after we sat down the waitress brought us our menus. She then said, in that condescending way Americans speak to non-English speakers, "Do you need anything?" My husband initially looked pissed, but then something sparkled in his eye. He turns to the waitress and very loudly says in a very exaggerated Asian accent, "Help with menu." He then held the waitress captive for about 10 minutes, having her explain the whole menu to him dish by dish, occasionally having her repeat things. Then my husband looked at me and said, again very loudly, "No good we go," so we grabbed our stuff and walked out of the restaurant and went somewhere else. Too long. Didn't read if you play racist games you win racist prizes. Opie's husband might have gone a little overboard, but that waitress deserved it. The whole condescending way Americans speak to non-English speakers thing is so irritating. It's like they forget that people can be multilingual these days. Making her explain the entire menu in a fake accent was hilarious, though. Like, a taste of your own medicine. It sounds like Opie's husband has a good sense of humor, even when dealing with racism. Hopefully, the waitress learned a valuable lesson about not making assumptions. Maybe a bit extreme to walk out entirely, but walking out with a point made. Pretty epic. Not everyone can handle a situation like that so well. Good on Opie's husband for standing up for himself. Coming up next is a story from Mercel 437. Fuck with my job and I'll fuck with your marriage. I already know I am the asshole for this, but this is what happened. My manager is an Indian woman and was constantly making passive-aggressive comments about my ethnicity, Afghan. I've worked at Subway for around 6 months and neither did I or any of my co-workers get along with her. She was the biggest micromanager I've ever met and would make up random rules, then would yell at us in front of the customers if we made a mistake. I know she made up these rules because when I would follow them, the owner of the store would question what I was doing and tell me I am not supposed to do that. She would also make racist remarks about me and my co-workers. My friend was explaining how she had to slaughter a goat for her religion, then she laughed in her face and said that's disgusting. And on my first day I told her I was from Afghanistan. She said, "You're a fake Afghan, you look Chinese." A couple months fast forwarded and I had to work in the morning with just her. I was at the front taking care of orders when there was a huge rush of people. She was in the back eating food when she wasn't even on break. So as I am taking care of all these orders, I like to frequently change my gloves after handling pork to accommodate any religious beliefs. These gloves would pile up and yeah, there were some crumbs on the table. However, when the rush was done, she then decided to come out and started scolding me for making a mess. I explained to her that there was a rush and I didn't have time to start cleaning in the middle of orders. She still insisted that I could have took out the trash and wiped the counters when there was a line of people waiting. Then started pointing out everything I did wrong, following with a "You're like a baby, you don't know how to do anything." I was so done with her, so I left right then and there. I told my friend what happened. She also worked with me, and we decided to make a fake Instagram account to catfish her husband. Yes, I know this was wrong, but we were bored petty teenagers. His Instagram was pretty easy to find, so we messaged him. He instantly responded back and kept flirting with us, wanting to meet up the next day. We sent the screenshot to our manager, but she blocked us, so I guess she wanted to stay Delulu. Opie's manager sounds awful. The constant racist remarks, making up rules, and yelling in front of customers is completely unacceptable. It's no wonder Opie was fed up. Leaving in the middle of a rush was definitely quitting in the heat of the moment, but completely understandable given the circumstances. Now, the catfish revenge plot. Yeah, that was a bad move. It's understandable to be petty after being treated so poorly, but messing with someone's marriage crosses a line. Plus, it doesn't really solve anything. Overall, Opie definitely got the raw end of the deal here. Hopefully they reported the manager's behavior to HR or the owner. Nobody deserves to be treated that way at work. Finding a new job with a decent manager would be the best revenge. Coming up next is a story from Chemical Mud 7119. Co-worker was pushing all his workload onto me for months. Her and me were made to be a team on a 6-month project. Every day, she would leave for 3 to 5 hours, whenever I asked her about where she disappeared to. And every day I only heard nonsense. The manager needed help, the new guys need help, I am doing this, I am doing that. 2 months into the project I was fed up. I could go to HR, but I had a better idea. I'll take few personal days. Let's see how she does. You see, every day you have to submit the amount of work that you got done with. And without me there for 4 days, she couldn't finish on time. She even called me to ask when I was going to be back. It's not the same without you here. When I went back to work, she was back at its same pattern. So now I went to HR. Now I have a new project partner, and it's someone who doesn't slack off. Opie, that co-worker sounds like a real nightmare. Leaving for hours at a time and dumping her workload on you for months. Totally inconsiderate and unfair. Good on you for taking a stand. Taking a few personal days to let her see what she was in for was a brilliant move. The fact that she crumbled without you there for just 4 days says it all. It's not the same without you here, yeah, because you were the one actually doing the work. Going to HR was absolutely the right call in the end. It's not fair to you to be stuck carrying someone else's weight. Hopefully your new partner is a team player who actually contributes. Nobody deserves a co-worker who slacks off. That wraps up r/PettyRevenge. If you enjoyed this content, make sure to visit my Spotify channel. Link is in the description, so you can listen to the best Reddit story while being outside, and remember to hit that subscribe button.